Okay, now you can hear me. I was looking at the stream. So one of the things with the conversations you'll see me have in like headquarters and in Tuscan leadership is it'll come off a lot as me debating things, like going, all right, I'm going to push back on this, but that's not what it is. Something that's very important to me is that when I bring something to the group, I make sure that whatever plan we end up with is as airtight as humanly possible, right? So let's say I come out and say, all right, well, we're going to wear M81 for this. And somebody's like, okay, but maybe we should wear Chucky Chip. And I'll sit there and we'll look back and forth it. I'll make sure that have, I have as airtight a reason for it. And it's not just me being arbitrary. So that'll make me actually come out and explain things, right? So anyhow, so I don't take these things as an attack. And trust me, if I did take it as an attack, you would know. Guys that have been with me since first NC will know how I respond to that. Oh no. Now I will say this. We going into Altus. Two things we're keeping in mind with the Altus campaign is one. Hey, there's got a good little turnout coming in. I will say, going into Altus, two things we are keeping in mind is first off, Chalky Chip's pretty dope. I mean, M81 is goated. It's God's flannel, but Chalky Chip is really nice. It also happens to work very well in arid terrain. Given also that we won't really get to use it a whole lot, we're thinking about it for Altus. However, for all of our other 80s stuff, is definitely going to be M81 because Woodland is good stuff. So there is that. This is having some stuff. I will say, I really we'll get to use it. We'll get to use it. Or we'll get to use Chalky Chip. We will get to use the 3-color desert in like Iraq 2 and I think early Afghanistan a little bit. But anyhow, and that's OBS being funky. Anyhow, by the way, if I ever like don't like if I'm not coming through or something like that, let me know. So is it just me from staff going to be here? I'm sure they'll rest of them will pop in when they need to. Yep. Lol. Indeed. Well, yeah, because a lot of you are like Oh, are you talking about after like the regionals? Yeah, I'd say so. Um, yeah, actually, it's easy to think of like Afghanistan as being a desert, but it's just arid, to my understanding. Like it's not like fucking Lawrence of Arabia over there. It's a little bit more rocks and greenery and shit. But then you got one there. In Iraq, yeah, I guess it would be a little nicer. Oh, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. It's like kind of like West Coastish, and equally just kind of fucked. Anyway, but of course Colorado's really not West Coast, but you know what I mean, like that kind of region. Um, but too, like you get into that, and we still had like M81 and stuff on our gear, like with a lot of the interceptor vests and Paz, the Mike Helmets, Paz GT, all that shit. Pazget, however you say it. I know y'all vets like to just say the acronym, which with Pazget's kind of weird. Um, All right, let's go ahead and kick this off. Um, you bring their California. So what's that guy's name? Something Fremont. Anyway, so let's go ahead. Is it just gonna be me up here? All right. So let's go ahead and kick it. I'm gonna pull up the announcements, and we'll get rolling. So I'll share, I guess, my thoughts first on Vietnam, and then we'll go from there. We're going to talk sort of sustain, improve, all that good stuff. Um, so that kind of format. So um, things I've definitely taken away from Vietnam is a little bit more work on our urban stuff could be handy. We definitely need a little help with our land nav and things, but I think those will work out in time. I know 1-2 is going to work on urban stuff. I within the next week or so will be hosting a land nav course specifically for leadership, but for everybody. Everybody's welcome to have it. Obviously. Um, I I feel like we definitely have come a long way in terms of professionalism with the I guess I feel like we've come from being a casual unit that does milsim to being a milsim unit that is casual, if that makes sense. Um, like I feel like there's a lot. Okay, so Paz GT Chevy, I just saw that. That's how you. Okay, um, so if that makes sense, like I feel like there's a lot less. And don't take this the wrong way. There's a lot less wrangling. I've got a lot more like things are just getting done. I don't have to kind of train people on the spot, which is really nice. You guys are all coming a long way. You're working together really well. Oh, there's Doc. Doc's our chief medical dude. Doc requests permission to speak, so I can pull you up here. Can you not hear me? Okay, real quick. You guys can hear me. It looks like you can. Um, okay, so maybe it's just Doc because he just asked me if I was speaking yet. Okay, so somebody needs to tell him to check his shit. Um,
Press the little hand button.
Okay, cool. Press a little.
There's a little hand on the bottom of the Discord.
There's a lot of bottom, and
But,
I don't have
no,
access
it's
to
on
that,
the.
Hunter.
Well, you don't have access, but we do.
Okay. Well,
It's
anyway,
one more.
don't worry about it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Um. Anyhow, well, I guess I can just sort of sit. Um. Let me. So the problem is, guys, that I'm not on voice activation, so I'm having to like, yeah, there. Jeez, what? Okay. Speaking of voice activation, I just heard your vape. Anywho, so back to what I was saying. I feel like things are a lot snappier now with just getting things done, not just administratively, but in the field. Like there's a lot more just cohesion. I feel like you guys are all doing a lot better, just working together as a group. Like there's a better sense of unity and community within the 420th. That isn't just the guys from the 6th and the guys from the 1st NC and the guys that just sort of filtered in. Like we have a unit identity now, and that's really nice to see. Um, Doc, would you agree with that kind of assessment there?
100%. No, you guys are. I feel like we're melding into our own unit. It was kind of separate at the beginning, but we're definitely becoming something new, which is fun.
Yeah. Indeed. Um. Oh, and Doc might fight you on that because I think Doc, you were 3-7, yeah. Or am I getting that backwards? I'm seeing some 3-5 propaganda going on in the chat from the Marines. Anywho, so those are all good things, and this actually does transfer us into kind of what we were talking about, Motard, with the cast and support and stuff. I want to get a better balance for the support. I think guided munitions and slightly tighter laws of war are going to make it a little bit harder for us to just cast our way through problems and mortar our way through problems. So I still want to make sure we're using, at least getting pretty good utilization out of our mortars. And I don't want our pilots to be bored. But we were talking about that among the Zeuses, I think, the other day. And one thing we can do is give the cast tasks to do that are related tangentially, I guess, to our ops, but aren't, like, it's not like, hey, we're currently engaging a tank. Cast, do the thing. It's more, hey, Cast, there's a reinforcement column. Go fuck it up. So that way they've got something to do. Because I feel like that is probably a decent enough balance, shall we say. Mike, since you're our representative from S3 here, Chevy, give here in a minute. I'll get you. Well, you can. But Mike, if you wanted to speak on that, you can. If not, we'll just move on to Chevy's thing.
Oh, there's Mike. I won't talk about it anyway. All right.
Oh, I guess you got.
I did. Yeah. My opinion on it is that casts should probably have their own objectives that way. Kind of like Chevy was saying originally about the MGs feeling useless. When we get 18 guys, they need something to do. So I guess having like secondary tasks for casts is something we can start throwing up.
Yeah. And there's going to be times when, like, say, fixed wing just isn't going to be available. One of the ops we're doing for Aegean Tempest, so the invasion of Stratus and Altus, is we're going to be hitting a place that the reason the Marine force that's pushing it is because we can't go in there in aircraft. It's too hot. So that's going to be an op where reinserts are going to be real spicy. So we're going to have to do some other stuff. Okay, is it directly related to what we're talking about right now, Chevy? Okay. I'll pull you up.
No, your opinion's wrong, leave.
Well, fuck, I tried. O'Connell, like you said, dude, I 100% agree, because, like Motard said, we have talked about it. Me and him sat down and talked about it, and I even mentioned it to Reaper. That conversation was had. So the thing that I was going to mention is, obviously, we are an airborne unit. I get that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we get all the fancy new toys because we're an airborne unit. But at the same time, CAS wouldn't just, like, be hovering over us for an entire fucking operation.
Correct. They would have things doing throughout the region. Yeah.
So what I was going to pitch is, for example, when we're doing these larger ops and we have fucking 2 Zeuses on.
Yeah.
It's as simple as one person is covering, like, hey, the ground guys are pushing through a city. One dude's dealing with that, while the other Zeus goes over and sets up, like, a little fucking scenario where you gotta go fucking support an adjacent unit that needs fucking CAS coverage.
Right.
Or, like you said, the convoy ops. Me, Motard had, like, a very extensive conversation about it. Because, like Mike said, same idea with the machine guns. But I also don't want to see it where we're just pushing CAS off and we're like,
Right.
no, go away, go do something else.
Yeah, we don't want them bored. No, I agree. That is definitely a good option. So one thing I'd kind of looked at is, like you said, they're not going to be right on top of us the whole time. Like generally, you have, at least to my understanding, if you have CAS in the area, that CAS isn't supporting one platoon. It's supporting all of, that whole sort of push, whatever is going on, and that's going to have them kind of around, and they're going to have limited windows that they're available for us. So definitely having more for them to do. Having said that, there's going to have to be a balance, and unfortunately, I'm going to kind of just give a generality here. There is going to have to be a balance, though, because we can't burn a whole lot of server resource on that, because this is an infantry unit. It's what we got to focus on. But that is the crux of this conversation, though, isn't it? This is an infantry unit. We need to make sure the infantry are having fun and doing infantry shit. And being challenged.
So, like Reaper just said, I did bring it up to Reaper, especially as we go more modern.
Yeah.
The only thing that I fear, especially with us like having Kaz attack equals, the Apache.
Yeah.
We all know, real life, by God, the Apache is the most overpowered fucking thing to have a rotor.
Yes, it's a fucking murder machine.
You can send it up, and in game, you can throw your fucking thermals on, and you're sniping with your fucking chain gun in fucking 2 clicks.
Yeah.
Like, there's no real effort there. So the thing that I had mentioned to Motard is finding that good balance, finding that balance of, yeah, they're there to provide support, but they need to understand they're not invincible in the fucking sky.
Yeah.
And if that comes down to put AAA around the map, which especially going into more modern, i.e. Afghanistan and Iraq,
Yeah.
it's going to be much easier because you have the mountains to hide things.
Yeah.
And intel is always fucking wrong.
Yeah.
So
sorry to sort of step in there, but I agree with that. Back in the 506, what our Zeus's would do is if our helicopter, like our rotary pilots, fucked up, like our Zeus's typically had orders not to PvP, right? Like not to hunt players, except for one instance, like one specific kind of condition. And that was if the rotary wing pilots fucked up, they were fully clear to do whatever the hell they wanted to them. So basically, if that pilot popped up or stayed hovering too long where enemy AA could theoretically get them, they were just like, all right, fuck them. Because it's so powerful. Obviously, you may not want to dial it that fine tune. One point that I think it was Sam pointed out is like some units ban them. Now I would hate to just like artificially cut off a limb, so to speak. However, I do want to point something out that we should all keep in mind. The support ops that we have, that Banania runs during a week, those were originally conceived specifically so those of you guys that want to like do cast stuff and really wild, like like go and just end the world with a helicopter, you can do that. That's what those ops are for. You get in and you go with whatever the fuck y'all want to take. However, again, it is nice to have those. So I think that's going to be up to us in HQ to kind of decide what to have and what not to have. Keeping in mind things like the Apache being overpowered as shit. Now, we do actually have the AC-130 gunship, which, ironically, I was talking with, I think, Drake or Mike one the other night about it, because Sam had mentioned something about the loiter time on fixed-wing aircraft not being quite what the loiter time on rotary-wing aircraft, and then you have the AC-130, that the entire point of its existence is loiter time. So that'll be interesting, but we're only going to bring that out every now and again. I think we're going to use basically Urgent Fury and probably Just Cause. I don't know if it was involved in Just Cause. If Halo were here, he could talk more about that. But We're definitely going to use Urgent Fury to debut it, but it probably won't be getting used all the damn time, even though it is very cool. Again, because, and let me ask you guys this, and this is for everybody in the chat, because I know a couple of you. I'm getting the feeling that it is more than just a couple of you that have this feeling about Cass. But have we all kind of gotten the feeling recently that there is just, like, Cass is just doing our job in a lot of ways? Okay. Because I definitely felt that last week. Like, and I was the one calling it. but it did get a little overmuch. Like, what I wanted for the cast to do was essentially just suppress the enemy so we could get in and dig them out. Unfortunately, what happened is Cass wiped out the enemy, and I don't think it was the pilot's fault. I think it's just the nature of their weaponry versus the not super usefulness of the cover that they were in, or the cover that the enemy was in. Because if they actually had, like, trenches and tunnels and shit up there that were real solid things, that may not have worked out the same way. But because Arma is Arma, that's not really the case. And I agree. See, Motard, I think you and I are in agreement there. I love seeing Cass do shit. I think it gives us a really cool cinematic feel. We can get that, though, without them doing our job for us, because I started an infantry unit, well, airborne unit, to do infantry shit. That being said, speaking of mechanized stuff, we probably will be doing more mounted stuff going forward. Our first FTX, which is next week, going into the 80s, actually will... it's going to touch on the fast rope stuff a little bit, air assault stuff a little bit, but it's also going to hit moving with vehicles, because we are actually going to start occasionally, and I say this occasionally, Chevy, you're going to appreciate this probably, deploying with Humvees and stuff to carry more ammunition and stuff for weapons. Yeah, because we are, and I'll get more into this, but in the 80s, we'll have access to things like the Super Dragon, the TOW, all that bullshit. So we won't have MRAPs and stuff yet because it's the 80s, but we will have Humvees, which are still pretty tenacious little fuckers. But you guys gotta... Oh, go ahead.
Can I just say two last things, and
yeah,
I'm
going
ahead. To go back down. So first, with the whole cast thing,
yeah.
like, just one last little thing. I think that these last few weeks, everyone also has to take a step back and realize that's Vietnam.
It is
Vietnam. Kaz was there to fucking dominate that shit. But at the same time, as we move forward, ROEs got so much stricter.
Yeah,
and
way
I think
tighter.
Doc can definitely attest to that. It wasn't just hey, that guy's moving near that building, call in 7 fucking gun runs.
Yeah.
Like, and then with the mech stuff, I only have a question.
Yeah.
Going forward, especially based off of, like, real airborne units, will we deploy with Bradleys in the future?
Will we deploy with Bradleys is a good question. I need to look...
In light armor,
because
light armor is deployed with airborne. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I would love to see if we could find... Well, first off, as far as we as a platoon are concerned, it's going to be sticking towards stuff that an actual, like, infantry dismounted platoon would normally use. However, as far as occasionally doing armored ops, doing stuff to, say, Bradleys, or if we can find any good, like, airborne armor, which I don't remember the name of it, but I would love to do that. There actually is... So for Altus, we actually have discussed at some length doing an armored op. I'm not sure if we're going to do that for, like, a big support op, say, like, on a Friday or some day where everybody can, like, a lot of people can be there, or if we're just going to do it on a Saturday night. But I really do. I want us to do some of that. I know 113s came up at one point. I know the Vietnam 113s, for whatever reason, don't allow for a full 10-person squad in them, which is fucking annoying. But the one that's just SOG. The ones in Cup may be different. I'd have to look at them.
They are.
Oh, they are?
They can hold full squad. Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness. So we could. Oh, excellent. But yeah, we could probably deploy with the M113s occasionally. I'll say this: I am hesitant to use vehicles a whole hell of a lot for a couple of reasons. A, I genuinely feel like if you're going to use a lot of vehicles in sort of a mass deployment, you need to make sure people are pretty well trained up on them, like comfortable with using them. Two, that is a thing that if we drop, if it's a jump, that is going to have to either be airlifted in or dropped with us, which is a fucking mess. Or if it's airlifted, we're going to have to hold the LZ while it gets there. However, if we're just leaving a fob, it's a lot easier. It just comes back to being used to convoys, which if we're doing those more, and we will be doing those more once we get into GWAT, that's, I guess, to give you a general answer, I would like to do it more, but I have some things I guess I need to get less hesitant with that, if that makes sense. I really do want to do an armored op at some point, though, because the last one we did was a hell of a lot of fun, and I love the Bradley. Like, the Abrams is cool, but the Bradley's fucking dope, because you get the cannon, you get the toes, it's a good time.
The only reason I ask, especially light armor, the one individual who won't shut up and chat about it because I love Motard so much,
right?
That is what he does.
Okay.
And, it was mentioned whenever we talked fucking Kaz, like, if you want a class ran, Motard's your guy to run that class.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, so like I said, I'd love to do some armor related stuff. I think it's fucking awesome. I think it's a lot of fun. I do know, and this is something from the first time we did armor back in the World War II phase, there were people who just wanted to be infantry even for that. So we're going to have to approach that op with a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more conscientiously. Perhaps doing something like an armored cavalry regiment sort of deal where it's the same basic squad configuration, but with Bradleys. And that way you've got the guys who want to do armor doing armor, and you've got the guys who want to just be on the ground doing ground. So we'll figure something out. And that's starting in May. So by the way, guys, and we'll get back onto Vietnam. D-Day is May 11th for Stratus and Altus. So we know we're going to be pushing on through that. Anyhow, so let's. I've basically said everything I wanted to say about Vietnam. Let me ask you guys: do you guys have anything you really liked about Vietnam? Do you want us to see kind of sustain going forward from Vietnam? Do you have anything that you really didn't like about Vietnam you want us to try and avoid? And Sam, I'll pull you up as soon as I'm done. And do you have like a favorite up, something you want to kind of capture again going forward? So, Sam, I'm going to invite you to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's basically only one thing I really discovered I did not heck of a lot of like, and I know this is like heresy coming from a machine gunner. No, I really like Big Gun. I really like Big Gun. There were some defensive ops that were pure defensive ops with like, I think if you're gonna do one of those, you have to either have like heavy logistics concerns where logistics are a really big part, or you have to have RP of some sort.
Right.
Because those get pretty boring if you don't have any of those, because you're just kind of sitting there for like a couple hours
defense,
practicing shooting at things.
Right. No, that's fair.
Because the AI isn't very good unless you like manually control it at assaulting a base. And if it was really good at that, it'd probably be more interesting, but it just isn't. It'll just come out of the forest and shoot at you, and then you'll fucking dome it in the head.
Right, except for when it's crawling the other direction 4 kilometers away for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm familiar. And I actually kind of agree with that sentiment. Like, guys will tell you I like defense. But at the same time, I fully agree with you. Pure defense ops can get kind of monotonous if you're not super, I guess, super careful with the way they're paced. I think the RP and stuff that Ghost put together for that one op was really solid, and I think we could definitely see more of that. As far as what was the other thing you said? I'm sorry. You said you wanted more RP, and there was something else, logistical concerns. So
Logistics.
Are you talking about like supply, like limited ammunition
Yeah, like
and stuff?
actually having to worry about your supply and not just being able to shoot full supply. Like, that stuff can be fun when you actually have to manage stuff and, like, you have a limited number of AT rounds to shoot tanks at if tanks are coming at you and shit like that. Or you have somebody that's dedicated to logistics, but they have to run some sort of gauntlet, and you're worried about, I probably will be supplied in the next hour, but who knows if that's fucking coming.
Right.
Like, that shit can be fun if there's extra stuff to manage, but when it's just, I sit here, I have my gun, I shoot my gun at men who come over hill.
Yeah.
It's kind of brain dead, and at that point it's fun purely because I'm with my buddies and we're talking about random shit.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that is part of being on post, but I agree with you. Like, the thing is, with these ops, it's not meant to simulate being on post, is it? It's meant to be combat. So...
I wanted that. I'd just sign up with the real army.
Right. So... Let me kind of pose this question to the room. One of the concerns I have with, I guess, defensive ops is not really a concern. That's maybe a strong word for it, but one I guess hang up that I would want to overcome in terms of that is making sure the pilots have something to do, which with reinserts they do. But if you've got reinserts coming in, you really have no reason not to do resupply as well, unless you're just like, okay, well, we're going to say we can't get resupply, even though there's a helicopter running in every 10 minutes. One thing we could do, though, is have the spawn in the base, which has its own warts, but let's run this down. Would you guys be good, then, with, say, having a longer spawn timer? So let's say you get hit, and in the unlikely event that you die, say instead of the 5-second respawn and then you get airlifted back in, it's 30 seconds, 45 seconds, whatever. The only problem I would see with that is loadouts. If we can't have an arsenal in the base, there's a way to set that up, though. I think Mike and Halo, you might know. There is a way to set it up to where it like keeps the loadout you had on your body.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Honestly,
Yeah, I forget how that works, but yeah, there's a way to set up so it will just like keep what you had when you died on you.
Yeah.
This is a personal thing. I hate the flag teleporter.
I'm not a huge fan of it either.
I personally hate it because people will basically.
Well, it's like it was a necessity when we were in World War II in Korea. But like, yeah, like, and parts of Vietnam even, it was a little necessary, but yeah.
Less so now, though.
Less so now.
I'm fine getting teleported if it's by a Zeus who made the decision as the mission maker to just say, yeah, let's just teleport them.
Right.
But it feels kind of scummy for everybody to just instantly respawn and go, oh, I died. Well, time to get back in after 5 seconds and just immediately run up to the flagpole.
Yeah. Oh.
I know a lot of people that that basically never stay for resupply. They don't even like check if it's there. They just immediately go flagpole, teleport, woo.
Okay. Well, and that's so one thing we've had a conversation with a little bit in headquarters is, if not fully removing them, just putting them somewhere where it's basically like, just out of sight, out of mind. Like, if you absolutely cannot get to the front any other way, we can tell you how to get to it, kind of thing. But let me ask the rest of you guys: how do y'all feel about the flag teleport? What do you feel? Like, where do you guys feel like we should put the? I guess draw the notch there.
I think what we should do is what I personally think we should do is remove the flagpole itself, but then when people respawn, they have to put in a message saying requesting reinsert, or like you could have it be like request land, like with the 82nd. It's my guide off. It's my other.
Right. It's like me with a
it's
506. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like what we have is that we when we respawn, we get our kit loaded and we put in a message requesting however many people are there. So let's say you need three, like let's say like 3 people died and you need 3 reinserts, requesting 3 times reinsert.
Yeah.
That way a pilot knows, like, okay, I have to take this kind of aircraft, or I can take the aircraft I'm in now. And if a pilot can't deal with it because they're doing CAS or something, the pilot could call over to Zeus and say, like, hey, just teleport them in.
Yeah, that's actually kind of what we did in the 506. In the 506, you would, if you died, and it was pretty hard to do that in the 506, but if you died, you actually, you wait, and if they don't show up in a relatively short order, which the reinsert pilots basically just stayed at base. It was sort of an understanding in the 506 that if you were a pilot, you were going to have brief shots of fun, and the rest of it was going to be just doing your part as a pilot. But you got to be a warrant officer, so people called you Mister, and that was cool. Anyhow, but you would call over on like 50 or 55, whatever, on the long wave if they weren't there. Like, that was the one time a PV1 could hop on the long wave and go, hey, I need a reinsert. You go, Private O'Connell, requesting 1 times reinsert, blah, blah, blah. Typically, so Captain Drumhauer was very picky about people using chat because he was all about the 506 whole brand was they were a realism unit. They weren't just like milsim. Like you couldn't even talk about lag in game. So they would have to use the radio. Yeah, it got bad. I actually left a little bit before that because first NC was starting up, but it got really, really prohibitive. Anyway, that I think that's a good idea. Personally, I'd love to scale back our use of that, and maybe we can start experimenting with that going forward. Now, Apex actually brought up a it was an interesting idea. Not a redeploy beacon as in like respawning on your squad leader, because that is literally what we're trying to get away from in removing the teleport pags.
That is one of the things I hate most, is the fact that when somebody respawns, they don't even teleport to an exterior location. It's just, oh, Jimmy died 5 seconds later. Oh, looks like Jimmy's back.
Yeah, so something, and you guys who have actually shot at people can maybe attest to this, but one of my understandings in the way platoons, companies, battalions tend to work is they'll get into their AO, and if they're assaulting something like that, they'll actually set up a little kind of like cache. And that's, by the way, that's kind of what those respawn points in squad, it's like a fob. Basically, they'll set up a little area where their sustainment loads, I think existent loads, something like that. They'll have a little rear guard that stays with it, but they'll put like their 3 and 4 day kits, their really heavy shit, somewhere that they can still get to it without it being, right in the middle of everything, but also without it being like super fucking far away. That could be a potential for teleports if people need to use teleports. But I would much rather go ahead and, at least for a little while, experiment with nixing the teleports unless they're requested, like for some reason, like a bug issue or something like that, and just have our helicopter pilots work, because I know our pilots want more to do. It's part of the reason CAS has kind of gotten the way it has over the past few ops, is like our pilots need something to fucking do. So
Yeah.
that being said, I will say we have other things we need to do to balance that, but I really would like to see more, I guess, more reinserts. And Motard, one thing you brought up was like medevacs and stuff. A, it's never really been necessary for us. B, it would slow us down, and I would like to see us need to pace ourselves a little bit better. But at the same time, for the person that's wounded, that means that they're out of the game. You know, if you're down, you may be down for 2-3 minutes tops. But if you're medevac, you're out of the fight for fucking, as long as it takes to get you out and unfuck you.
I've
And then
actually
get you
been
back in.
medevaced in this unit before because we didn't have anybody that had a doctor perm to give me blood. And it's a long time. I'm fine with it because I'm always thinking I'm thinking from the DM point of this must feel so cool for everybody else around me. But I can't do shit. I can't talk to anybody. I just go on my phone and watch YouTube. There's nothing to do.
Right. And I'm kind of the same way. Like, there was one time I was in a Star Sim group, and I got medevaced, and it was fucking intense listening to everybody, like the medics all kind of fuss over me and all that. So, that was really cool. But at the same time, I also have nights where I come in and I just want to get back in the damn fight. So it's kind of a balance. Chevy, I'll pull you up here. I'm done talking.
I think it's fine the amount that it happens right now, where it's just happened by coincidence. The only other thing I wanted to bring up was there's basically only two ways to really slow down an Arma unit, and that's basically you either have them take casualties or you have way more restricted ammunition load, so they have to conserve it a lot more. We have very generous ammunition loads in this unit.
I am a generous god. Yes.
Very generous, to the point that people don't need resupply for an entire 2 hours.
Yeah,
I've seen
I agree with
some
that.
units where literally they give people 6 mags, and they say any other mags you get will be getted from logistics, because they just have somebody that's just dedicated to resupplying companies.
Yeah, we had a max
and
of
they'll
13
just be like
506. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and they'll just straight up tell people if... there was one guy I was watching who was talking about an op he had where one of his units reported in ammunition black, as in literally none of them had ammo left. He told them take a hill, and one of their guys reinserted, and they managed to take the hill with 1 mag each. It slows people down a lot, because it's basically the only way to make people fall back is simply, I have no ammo. I can't fight anymore.
Yeah, that's one thing we can talk about, but I think we can table it a little bit more for later in the discussion if we want to hit it more. I do think we can look at our logistics stuff, because I definitely noticed that we had some people carrying fucking just ridiculous numbers of magazines in the op before, or in our gear check. Anyhow, Sam, I'm going to set you down and bring Chevy up here if you're good. All right.
Absolutely.
Or if you want to go ahead and just step, there you go. There he is.
All right. I'm just going to say a couple of things, then I actually have to leave. With slowing us down, that's going to happen on its own as we go more modern. Why that is every unit that I've been a part of, anytime we go modern, everything tends to slow way the fuck down. Your engagements go out to a further fucking distance, and overall combat is more sustained fights, and everything you make slower progress.
Right.
Especially once you start going fucking Afghan Iraq, because you don't know where the fuck you could be hit from. The mountains are the enemy, and by God, the entire country is a mountain. But
yeah.
Then with the mag thing's also eventually going to stable out. Because as you go more modern, like right now, if I built the 240 kit that I'm wanting to build, I can only carry like 3 or 4 belts. Now, mind you, that's because I also carry other like necessity supplies, and I'm not just machine gun and ammo is all I need. No, because I build my kit off of what makes actual fucking sense.
Right.
But as you go more modern, things weigh fucking more. More equipment equals more weight. You can't carry that many bullets.
Yeah, I actually...
Like
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Well, no, I agree with that. Like, I've looked at our 80s kits, and it's not as easy to just carry 50 fucking mags.
Yeah,
like
but Vietnam, that was the thing.
Yeah.
You would grab a bandolier, and you'd fucking open it and dump that shit in a backpack, because you could be in a fight for fucking 73 hours.
Yeah.
That was normal. But yeah, no. So with the reinsert thing, this is the last thing I'll hit on, and then I gotta go. But with the reinsert thing, one of the units that I was with, I think balanced it fairly well. Because I've seen a lot of recommendations, and some of the recommendations make sense in the chat and whatnot. If you have a bird running medevac, i.e., Doc, if you declare someone an urgent, and at that point you stabilize. All you do is stabilize. Don't waste all your resources on deck trying to get that person back up into the fight. You stabilize. Medevac bird comes in. They pick them up. Now, if someone has died in the process of that bird coming to get them, they will be picked up, flown back to base. Zeus will heal the people in the bird, and reinserts will get on that bird and come back. That is...
The problem is that as Zeus, you can't heal an actually dead player. That's not how that works.
I'm not talking dead player. I never said dead player. If they are declared urgent and they are unconscious, you load them into a helicopter for the medevac. They are flown back to base. They pick up the reinserts, and the unconscious man has now been healed because he is back at base.
Yeah, I think the word dead did get worked into there in the first run of that, but that makes more sense now.
My bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is how it was balanced in one of the units that I was in. And it made sense. In Apex, fuck no, we're not doing a 73-hour op. I think I can speak for everyone fucking here. Go fuck yourself on that one. But yeah, that was that good medium balance of air reinserts, air medevacs, and Zeus still teleporting some players. Because obviously, if I just get fucking domed and I'm dead, I don't want to stand at base for fucking 30 minutes waiting for someone to go uncon for a medevac to come get me.
Right.
So again, it's sitting down and finding that good middle ground, which I think it's what I said is a good starting point. I'm not saying that's the answer for the 420th.
Right.
Because obviously we operate much differently than anything I've been a part of. But at the same time, I think it's a good groundwork. Right.
And so one thing to remember too is a lot of the folks in here, I could estimate are going to be the people who are typically down for a little bit more grit, a little bit more granularity in the realism. We also have to remember that this is 15 of us out of the more than 30 in the unit. So we also have to kind of factor that in. I would like to experiment a little bit more with some more reinsert and some more medevac stuff, but I guess I just don't have too much else to pile on that for right now. But I am more hesitant to do medevac, but if we wanted to experiment with it again at a later date, we could always try it. So yeah.
Again, the reason I bring it up is it all goes back to this extensive conversation I had with Motard. Again, going more modern, you have the Blackhawk.
Yeah.
Blackhawk has been the most versatile utility helicopter known to fucking humankind. It can be an attack chopper. It can be a medevac bird. It can be a SAR bird.
Right.
It can be a fucking anti-ship bird. It does what fucking needs to.
Whatever it needs to be, yeah.
So if you have one that's on station for your CAS, yeah, it can be a bird.
Yeah.
if you have one on station for Kaz with fucking 134s, a 134 is going to fuck up any light skin or infantry it comes across. Or fuck, if you want to do 50s on it, because they have that variant, it can also run your medevac because it's already there. But that's also that beautiful balance of Kaz as well, because they also have to play it safe because they are only running guns and they have to be fairly close to the fight.
Yeah. No, it'll be good to have the Blackhawk. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on?
That is it.
Okay, dope. Yeah, but luckily I'm recording this so we can kind of go back through some of the notes to talk to. I know headquarters will probably talk some about some of this stuff. And there is something Mike does bring up is like we have 2 hours. We've tried running longer. We've never tried running fucking shorter because 2 hours is honestly kind of short to me. But I know to a lot of people 2 hours is what they've got. And so using more of that time for things could be, yeah. See, I'm used to 3 from the 506, but 2 is good though.
Yeah, I'm used to 2, personally, and it's like I don't want more. I don't want too much less. That's really where it comes down to. It's like I don't like.
Yeah.
I expect to be there from my time 5 to 7. That's what I expect. I don't want to. I don't want to play Arma to 8 without knowing that's what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like 3 hours of Arma straight is a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. That goes back to O'Connell. I agree with what you said, but at the same time, I don't. Because again, I've obviously here we do the 2 hours ops, dude. I've done units where we've done fucking 3.5, 4, and 5 hour ops on a weekend, but that's simply because there was so much planned, and you got to make time for it.
Yeah.
So that's the only constraint that we run into with all of this planning is we want to do so much, but we're trying to cram everything into a single 2-hour session.
Yeah, and that's trying to cram everything into 2 hours is something we need to handle on the mission planning end of things. When it comes to Apex brings something up. Our ops start at 11 p.m. for him. I'd say about 40% of the unit is from the other side of the Atlantic. 3, 4, 5 hour ops is too fucking late for them. Like, plain and simple, we would lose 40% of the unit right there. And that's no.
Yeah.
And I know you're not suggesting that. I'm just saying that's not a workable solution or a workable option for us.
Again, I'm just saying, like, the time talk is out of the question. Like, ops are set at 2 hours, and there's a fucking reason for it.
Yeah.
So, like, trying to pitch, let's do 3 hour, like, no, that's already out of the question.
Yeah. Now, the only... go ahead.
So the answers that we come up with have to be answers that can be fit into that.
Yeah, no, exactly. And there is another solution, but it's not a solution that I think is workable right now, and I don't think it'll be something we really want to get into for a long time. But there is the potential eventually to go, okay, we've got the UK, one op that happens on this day at this time, and another op that happens on this day at this time. One's more for like the European side of the Atlantic, the other is for the North American side of the Atlantic. But that is so far out of the league of what we're talking about right now that if it exploded, the light wouldn't reach us for 1,000,000 years. So, so yeah, right now we got to kind of, I guess, approach this as if we have one platoon and one op per week. So, yeah, what I just brought up was totally fucking
got.
Yeah, but I know I would say if it's in the back of my head, it's in the back of other people's head too. So it might as well get kind of addressed.
I was gonna say it's almost like we only have one platoon.
Right.
But on that note, gentle peoples. I'm going to fucking leave.
Awesome.
And Chevy's gonna go
But
lie
also
down in
not
fucking
awesome.
pain.
Rip. Get to feeling better, homie.
Everything hurts in my back. Don't get a job. Don't do it.
Yeah, job bad. Let's see. Let's see here. All right, so talked about sort of what we like, what we didn't like. Does anybody have more? Because there's so much going on in the side chat here. So, is there anybody else had anything they wanted to add to what they liked and didn't like, or perhaps what their favorite op was we did with Vietnam, or like sort of favorite moment stuff? Because
I have a favorite moment.
awesome.
With Vietnam, it was the riverboat op, where I was flying the little bird with with Reaper and Ryoka. That was that was probably my most favorite moment. That was a great op.
You dropped a helicopter on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did do that. Well, technically speaking, that was Bobby.
Well,
I wasn't the one firing the gun. I just got the assist for it.
Yeah.
But second
cool.
air-to-air kill though, so that's cool.
Right. After myself and Norwal. That was pretty great. So I'd have to say for me, kind of piggybacking off of that, two of my favorite moments actually came from those couple of weeks. The first is the air-to-air kill. You know, that was just fucking awesome. It was actually a lot of fun hanging out with Norwal. He's a good dude. But also, I won't say favorite, but definitely a notable moment for me was because of the fuckery that was the way the game and server handled all of those boats. We had to frago that op. Like, we had to pretty much completely go off script for the first half of that op because of the server performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Sam, you talking about the one where y'all did SAM sites?
Yeah, I also like Way City. There was Way City was also good, but there was one we did. There was gosh, I forget. It was the one after the case on defense op.
Okay, so that was the case on clearing op you're talking about.
Yeah.
That was a good op.
I enjoyed that a lot. Yeah, that was a good op.
I think that was one of Ghost's op that he ran, wasn't it? Yeah, he did a good job with that one.
Yeah, that was Ghost.
Yeah, that was a good op.
Except for when he basically just genocided 1-1. Because like we were sitting there because I was with him on this ridgeline on the left flank, and we were still kind of collecting. I think 1-2 had taken a mascaz or something. They were getting kind of squared away. 1-1 was ready to move out, and then all of a sudden mortars. You could hear the fuckers firing them. So it was like everybody, and then I got to listen to, I think it was either Chevy or Sam arguing with one of the guys who's not with us anymore about morphine and whether or not it should be pushed. So two non-medics, of course Sam was filling in as a medic for that op, kind of, because we didn't have any medics that night, at least not in 1-1, arguing over medical stuff. And I remember getting up and going, if I hear the word morphine, maybe it was Chevy, morphine one more time, I'm going to beat somebody's ass. Because I was so tired of hearing them back and forth about that. And I'm like, settings are different from unit to unit. There is no exact right answer other than what our settings are, and it's don't fill me full of damn morphine.
Yeah. But I mean, morphine, yeah, it's different depending on people's settings is a big deal with it. But like, only push it when they're conscious and they're in severe pain, and if their heart rate is like high.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. If their heart rate's like less than 100, probably don't do it. Yeah, and make sure they have art, right? That way you don't kill them. Yeah.
Yeah, also that.
Because one time in it was the last op of World War II actually on that island. I I was given morphine because of the severe pain, and then like a few minutes later, you start hearing the pulse. It's supposed to be like rapid clicking, like you have a slow heartbeat and you're feeling it.
Yeah.
That is like if you ever hear that in game, immediately go to a doc.
Yeah.
Like immediately, and have them give you an epi and stick to that doc because
Yeah.
you will need more probably.
Also, if you can hear your heartbeat in real life, go to the fucking doctor now. That's
Yeah.
called palpitations. It's a problem.
Yeah.
You know who you are. Anyway, so anyhow, back to all that. Yeah, that was a good op. I love urban combat. When it's done right, it can be really intense. When it's done wrong, it can be a pain in the ass, but still pretty intense. I actually liked the Hawaii City op pretty well. Um, it was nice to see the unit struggle. I know it sounds weird, but we so regularly just waltz through shit that seeing us actually kind of get pinned and in sort of a tense, hairy situation, it was a good time. So I'd love to see more of that going forward. We have something, I won't spoil it, but we do have something special planned for Altus that should be a super spooky fun time for urban stuff. Sam will hit you in a second. So, yeah. But let's go ahead.
Sam, what's it about?
Yeah, I assume it's to do with Vietnam. So, Sam's smart. He knows what's up. All right, let's pull him up.
Okay, so about slowing us down. This might be crazy, but for like Altus and stuff where we actually have a chance of failing.
Yeah.
For ops where we don't want us to fail, we probably shouldn't do this because this gives us a chance of failing. You could put a cap on respawn.
That is something we
and literally say if a certain amount of people die, like you can't respawn anybody because that tends to change command. Like I've seen other units do this where they have this point in the mission where they're like, "Oh shit, we don't have enough respawns. We actually have to start reining our shit in to get this fucking done, or else we're going to lose."
Right. So in response to that, something we've talked about a little bit in HQ. I think Halo, you and I've talked about this. Maybe Mike's been privy to this conversation. Unfortunately, Doc and Drake aren't around to sort of weigh in on this because I am used to that from the 506. I would like to see that at some point. Definitely when we go into our story-driven campaigns. I think it's something we can experiment with. I think it's something we'd have to boil the frog on a little bit, though. Of course, go ahead.
I have an opinion
Yeah.
on it. Yeah. My opinion is no. Because like I get that it's like it's a hard op, it's like people are dying, but it's like okay, you run out of respawns. But so let's say you run out of respawns and you have like a squad and a half in the place. What is like but you run out of respawns, you still have like a squad and a half. Like what are they gonna do? Are you just gonna extract and then call it good at the 6:30 mark, or are you gonna keep going and then people aren't gonna get to play the video game they want to?
So you shouldn't be if you ran out of respawns at 6:30, you have been dying a lot.
Yeah,
you essentially
just
trench
hypothetical here.
Hypothetical. Well, I mean, all of this is hypothetical, right? Because we're talking. For one, part of that is we got to make sure we balance the op to where it would be real fucking difficult to have happen. Two, we'd have to balance the respawns to where it's really difficult to have happen. What we did in the 506 is everybody could respawn twice. Getting armored didn't count as dying, right? Also, Chevy, you're a corporal. If the Miro isn't consistent, that's personnel. They need to square it away. But
you can just say my name. I'm the only one there.
Okay.
What happened?
Apparently, Chevy's got different ranks. What is I will tell you right now that I know when I do it. So I know when I do it, sometimes I just don't do it for the upcoming op billets because, like, those are going to get deleted. But the ones on the permanent is the one you need to look for. However, the official record is actually on a spreadsheet, and if you're not sure what your rank is for some odd reason, you can write the person who is in S4, and the head of that department is listed on the Contact and COC channel. So, anyway, don't need to stop a meeting to take care of that shit. Alright, so, and the COC contact stuff is something we're going to square away at some point. So, anyhow, I would be willing to experiment with respawns, like limited respawns. It's something I've always wanted us to try, but I think a support op will be a good place to experiment with that, and then maybe sort of go from there, or an FTX even. I personally, I think they could add a bunch of add some realism, add some tension, add some consequence. However, again, it's going to take some balancing and some work. We couldn't just. I don't feel like rolling it all at once would be the best idea. Anyhow, Sam, are you good?
No, I just wanted to propose that because I had those things like logistics, respawns, all that shit that I've seen other units do that could work because I've seen other pretty large units, pretty successful units do them, and people like them.
Right. And that's, again, maybe it's for us, maybe it's not. Like I'm saying, we can talk about it and kind of try it out.
The game can feel different depending on what you have.
Yeah, and we definitely do need to have a chance to fail, especially in story-driven stuff. Anyhow, if you're good, we'll go ahead and step you down and bring Motard
Thanks,
up.
man.
All right, Motard, you should be. There he goes.
Sorry, I just wanted to kind of bounce off that. Like, if you like the respawn thing, why not just like start by giving everyone like 5 respawns, right? Like, I mean,
yeah, and that's
in
what we
every
do is
op
pick a
I've
number
been
and
in
go
so
from
far.
there.
Yeah, like I haven't died once. Like, I've been down. I've never died though. Well, correction. One time.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no. Anyways, just trying to get my thoughts out real quick. But that's one thing I've also noticed about some ops. I feel like the Zeus's are a little too training wheels on, right? Like, the training wheels on kind of die, fuck up, respawn kind of thing, or like revive you on the field kind of thing. I feel should be more of a training thing, like if we're doing a training exercise. But in the real ops, like, listen, if you don't wake up, and you need to get out of here, even if you're stable or not, right? Like, that's just me, because like I've noticed on some ops where like a lot of our guys, especially our newer guys, and I mean, hell, I've done it even where, you know, my comms were fucked up, I didn't know where everyone else. You get separated, you die. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if you have something like spawns, you're gonna keep people from wanting to leave their buddy to go try to be fucking Rambo.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Ramboing used to be it's gotten better, but Ramboing was a real problem we had when we first started out. When I was training the platoon, there was one person, they're not with us anymore, probably because they figured out that I would kind of just hunt them when they would do this. But I noticed one of our guys would just kind of wander off on his own and Rambo, and to his credit, he's pretty good. He actually gave me a little bit of trouble, and I'm a fairly decent PvPer. But I would, like, I pick on people that run off on their own, and I tell my Zeus's to do the same thing. If you see somebody else. Now, I will say this. Zeus's have been instructed not to go out of their way to hunt players without certain circumstances being the case, right?
Okay.
However, there's a balance to be struck there. It's not like they can't shoot directly at you. It's more they got to give you a warning shot if you're looking the other way, and then if you don't react to that, like get cover or start returning fire, then they're clear to just fucking dump you, more or less. That's a very short explanation.
You are far too kind. Stop it.
Right.
If they're not paying attention to their sector, blow their fucking head off.
Right. But if they are, and it just so happens you're not in the sector that they're watching. But like,
okay,
yeah, and there's some other things. Again, video game. But yeah, like there are some logical things there. Don't drop an entire barrage on one squad directly. Like drop a couple of warning shots around them, and then if they don't take cover or that sort of thing. You know. Anyhow, but yeah. So, and to answer that, somebody said 5 respawns per squad. No, if we did respawns, it'd be per person. So if you die twice,
that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Yeah.
If you die twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, that would be it. Not the squad has 5 tickets or something. That's too prohibitive because we have had situations where that would have.
Well, because you're gonna have the one Rambo that just dies all the time, and you'd be like, well, fuck. You know?
Yeah. And we had a problem too in the first couple of ops, and luckily these people got caught and yelled at. But we had a problem too in one of our first couple of ops we did back in Green Stick, where people would be like, "Well, I'm low on ammo, so I'm just going to respawn," and that's fucked up. And I told him that I was like, "No, that's fucking gamey. Don't do it. And if I catch you doing it, your ass is going to get spread." And not in like a fun party way, like a unfun, I may never shit right again way. You know.
Well, that's just my thing. Like again, I've been part of some more like hardcore, uber realistic milsims guys that take themselves far too seriously, and I've also been on the super casual end, right?
Yeah.
And the thing you want to try to do, and what I think what retains more people is finding that happy balance between the two.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of military people, like a lot of veterans and shit that I play with, they like that ultra fucking realism, right? Where you get punished for doing stupid shit.
Right.
Right? But then a lot of civilians and like casual people that just want to come in and do fun military shit, like myself, even though I'm more on the veteran side of doing things. But like these guys, they're not quite used to that kind of mentality nor way of thinking. So they're just like, oh, Call of Duty, but slower.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, and you got to try to get them out of that mentality. So I get, again, it's just trying to find the proper balance of both of the play styles, I guess.
But that
I don't know, but like,
yeah. So
that's where I'm just getting at.
Yeah, no, I kind of think I'm tracking, and that's something that we would be talking amongst HQ a little bit about to make sure because with HQ I like to make sure we're more or less on the same page with shit. And you know, rolling it out to the unit, there will be a couple of beta tests. There will definitely be a survey going, you know, starting with, do you think this is a good idea, and leading into like, if we did it, what would be comfortable, what would be, you know, where do you think we should take it, that sort of thing. So basically a little bit more of that, because you know me, I love my Google Forms, and I love my surveys, because stats was one of my better subjects. Anyhow,
no, I mean, I appreciate it too.
Yeah. Hopefully I can start putting surveys out again. We used to do those, but they kind of started not getting a whole lot of traction. But maybe now that there's more of us, it'll work out better. Anyhow, was there anything else you wanted to add on that conversation?
One more thing, and I'm not quite sure if this is the right time of the meeting to do that, but I did have one extra suggestion on people that like want to do more of a support role, right? So maybe not like for Cass, us tankers.
This may be
whatever,
more for
right?
general comments at the end.
Okay, then I'll save it for then.
Okay.
All right, then I'm done.
Okay, cool. Well, in that case, if you want to just go ahead and pop on back down.
Do I?
Yeah, I think you do, Eric. I think you do it with yourself for some. Anyhow, as long as you mute it, doesn't really matter. Can I push you back down? Oh, move to audience. There you go. All right. Just remember to unmute yourself. And can I It's weird. I can't pull people up, but I can push them down, which fair enough, but like still. Anywho, I don't think we have anything else with Vietnam. We want to talk about. I think it seems like every time we talk about something in Vietnam, we kind of get into a billion other things. So it may be better to just move us along, get through the 80s and 90s, get into general commentary. So 80s, 90s. So first off, I'm hesitant to marry us to a timetable, but I will tell you one solid date we have right now is the beginning date for the invasion of Stratus and Altus, also known as the Operation IGN Tempest. So that's going to be, and we'll talk more about it as time goes along. We'll be working on some lore and stuff, but that's going to go, May 11th. And it'll actually kind of coincide with the day that it's supposed to happen IRL, which would be like May 10th or May 11th, 1990. So it's kind of set like right at the turn of the decade. It'll be a good time. So upcoming ops, though, generally what we're looking at is obviously we have the Last Stand op tomorrow. We're doing the intro to 80s FTX. We're going to be touching a little bit more on Air Assault. So it's going to be First Class Halos, bread and butter there. And we're also going to be talking about moving around with Vix. And that'll actually, oddly enough, use our newly extended Urban Warfare Center. It'll be the Mount Course Alpha, which doesn't get a whole lot of love, but it's pretty nice. So you'll get to rappel onto buildings. It'll be really cool. March 9th, we're hoping to start the invasion of Granada. So Urgent Fury, I think, is going to last 3-ish weeks. Hey, there's Durake, our newly minted lieutenant. And it's lieutenant because we're Chad Americans, not lieutenant because we're not the silly British. Anyhow, so we just got done with Vietnam. Is there anything specifically you wanted to address about Vietnam, like per the announcement before we move on? Because we'll give you time for your thoughts if you had any you wanted to pop in there.
Personally, I think Vietnam was cool.
Yep.
I think we were really hyped for it, and then we were kind of sick of it by the time we got there. Generally, I had a good time. Everyone seemed to. We didn't have any major issues, I don't think, really. A few things we can always learn from, obviously. Getting, like, on our end, getting the ratios of the use of cast to letting the infantry deal with stuff, and, simple things like that. Had a couple of issues with server performance for different reasons. I think we'll work on that, see what we can do. But generally went pretty well, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, and I will say this about Vietnam, and I'll also say it about World War II. Any of the periods we do, I think if they were just our thing, I could do them in perpetuity. I think part of the fatigue comes from knowing that there's another hill to climb coming up. But at the same time, Vietnam is an odd duck because it's the same. No matter, like, it's jungle, and then it's jungle, and then it's jungle, and then it's a town, but the town is in a jungle. So it's still kind of the samey. But those eras I could do. I think 80s and 90s, though, I'm looking forward to it, and this I guess kind of transitions. Say again.
I was just going to say there's so much variation we can do in the 80s and 90s. Whether it be terrain, uniforms, places we're fighting, people we're fighting.
Types. Yeah, we got 2 whole uniforms we could choose from. For our land nav, by the way, I posted a picture of it. We're actually going to be using, it's urban camo, but I'm going to kind of treat it as like the winter camouflage. So for our land nav, we're actually going to get to fuck around in the snow, because I'm going to call it like, it'll be like subarctic survival training or what. It doesn't really matter what the lore of it is. The fact is you get to wear a different camo for it, and that'll be fun. And it's on Chernobyl, which is always good. Anywho, So going to the 80s is going to be awesome. I think we got 3 weeks at Granada. Halo, I think you've got, what, 4 for Panama planned out?
4. Yep.
Okay.
It could be 3, it could be 5, it could be any number, really. But yeah, I think 3 is about the minimum, but 4 is a very good number.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. And then going again after that, I think sometime among all of this, we have the joint op with the Raiders, where they're going to do the Day of the Rangers, which is going to be based on Mogadishu, though not a 1-to-1 of it. And let's see, upcoming ops. Is there anything else throughout all that? So yeah, and then it'd be a operation going into May, and that we expect to be 2 to 3 months. So Altus, Altus and Stratus going to be probably about 2 to 3 months to hit all the things we want to hit on it. Because it's dynamic, because it's story driven, we're going to try not to like marry us to an exact number of ops. We don't want it to be super long, so we don't want to get sick of it. We don't want you guys to get bored or tired. But at the same time, we also don't want to get to the end and be like, well, fuck, I want to do more of that. So that'll be something that throughout that operation, we'll do some sort of morale checks and stuff. But Drake, Halo, I need to step away for a few minutes. To have a call I've got to return. If you guys could kind of lead people through talking through the 80s, kind of like what we did with Vietnam. I'll be right back.
So, yeah, I guess I'll start. So I believe, and Mike and Drake, you guys can correct me on this, but after Sayonara Saigon, we then have a week of break, correct?
FTX next week.
Okay, FTX, got
Yes,
it. I
yeah.
was wondering. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we have then FTX, where we'll go over some new things with the 80s. One thing was going to be rappelling. That's a new thing. If you weren't there for my training of it, you'll learn it there too. And a few other things, some weapon changes, camo kits, all that. And differences in equipment too. Like we have the Blackhawk and the we have the Apache when we get to Panama.
Yeah.
So like we have the Blackhawk, and then we go into Granada, which is 3 ops. Do either of you know what those 3 ops are?
Yes, I'm building them.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
All right, so Granada will do an invasion of the island, and civilian rescue kind of things, and then eliminating the holdouts. That's
All right.
pretty much the basics of the 3 ops.
Yeah, and then
Then we've got Easter, so we're having an op week,
Easter.
or I'm planning a bit of an April Fool's op because April Fool's lands in the week. So we will see what happens with that. Then it's marked as April 6th will be the day of the Rangers with the the Rangers guys. Sorry, the fucking Jesus, Ted and his guys.
Yeah.
Cool.
Raiders.
Raiders. There we go. And then Panama, which is yours, I believe, isn't it?
Yep, that's my neck of the woods there. Well, not literally. I live thousands of miles away from Panama. But with Panama, it's going to be 4 ops. 2 airborne jumps, Rio Hato and Tacaman Airport. And then we'll have a Delta Force op where we'll be rescuing a prisoner slash hostage, Kurt Muse, from a Panamanian prison, and then we'll have clearing Panama City. The order
light work, as the saying goes.
Indeed.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
As far as S3 goes, I don't know if they would necessarily need to be in S3 unless they want to make or run missions, because that's kind of what that is. For lore things, it would just be getting with the mission makers, like Sam said.
Right.
And if you want to write something up, just send it to them. That way they can proofread it and make sure it fits with what we're running. Because a lot of things we do, we have to edit to make it fit either the maps or the unit, whatever we're doing, just to make it make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that opens up a conversation, and that may be more something we have among the staff. Is, Pathfinder has always been kind of what we refer to our Zeus's as, and S3 is kind of folded into that. What you and I have talked about a little bit, Mike, is how, you obviously use Zeus a lot and you do a fine job of it. But I know you are more interested in mission making, specifically like back end under the hood stuff. If we put S3 to be a combination, right? Like to not just be Zeus's, but also, mission makers and lore, that could worok out.
Yes.
Because I would like the one thing, and this is something I think we talked about a little bit in headquarters. I know Drake and I have talked about this, at least I'm pretty sure the impression I came away with was we want to start getting people used to talking about things more out in the open, at least in a channel someone can look at, someone relevant to it. Like, obviously, you and I don't need to be having full conversations in the chat channel, but instead of me DMing you and having a conversation that can easily get lost or that we'd have to recontextualize for somebody else, we can go, all right, well, I was talking to Mike the other day in S3 chat, whatever. So I think it would be good, personally, to have the lore team at least in that staff shop or connected to that staff shop to where they could talk in those channels instead of having it be via like DMs and stuff, because I don't mind DMs, obviously, but again, the more open it is, the more easily we can communicate among the departments, the better I feel we're going to be. Which I didn't mind. So Sam, like you and I had talked about that. Like because of the specifics of that situation, like, yeah, that's a fine time. When you shouldn't DM me is like when you want to be, I don't know, fucking rifleman instead of a machine gunner or something, right? Mike, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, that would work. We would just need to. S3 has so many things we do at the moment. We probably need a couple more channels just for like places to post missions, places to post lore, and then places to talk.
S3 should probably have its own like collection, yeah, because it's the creepiest of the it's the creepiest of the staff shops, because it's got, and by that I mean size creep, because it has, or scope creep, because it has so many things attached to it. But it is getting to a lot. I don't love having shit tons of channels on the Discord, and I'm starting to think maybe we need a forum. But yeah, I agree. You probably do need it.
Unfortunately,
it's true. I mean, we can do it on the Discord, and so we can look at sort of ordering things around that a little bit more. Besides, not everybody can see every channel, so unless you're like me and you're an admin, you're not even going to notice it. But
and to be fair, this Discord isn't bad. I will tell you that.
No, I've seen worse. I've definitely seen worse. Reserves. Anyway, actually, they've gotten a lot better, but that may also be because I've been arbitrarily locked out of a lot of random things.
There's a lot of channels now.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's something we could talk about with staff. Let's actually talk a little bit about DMs and stuff, because I think you guys have basically tied up the staff conversation, right? Like, that's pretty good there.
So.
Okay. So let's talk a little about like discussing DMs. Most everybody in here is probably preaching to the choir. But a lot of the reason I put the contact and COC thing there under announcements is so you guys more clearly know who to talk to, because I've always had a really open door policy, and I don't necessarily mind getting DM'd about stuff most of the time, especially when we were 12 to 20 guys just doing whatever the heck we wanted. It was real easy for me to go, okay, well, cool, I'll go ahead and take care of that. But now we're 30, heading towards 40 guys, and that's changing. It's not to where I can just change something and nobody really needs to be informed about it. So that's why that's there. Is to help you guys figure out, okay, I need to talk to this person. And if you don't know what squad you're in, first off, what? Second off, the Miro board is a good way to do it. You also have access to a squad channel, so you can say, okay, well, I have access to 1-1, so I'm in 1-1. That gets updated pretty regularly, so you can generally trust it to be correct. But the Miro is always right as far as who is in what squad. So at least it's within 24 hours. So anywho, there's that. Obviously, I'll put it this way. I'm not gonna yell at you if you DM me over something you shouldn't be DMing me over. But if it happens more than once, I'm gonna start just linking you to COC. Because yeah. And I think that's the case with most of the guys here in the upper level. We're here to help. We want to help. We want to. It's a lot of the time it's easier to just fix the problem than to like be snarky. Because I've been in units that are like that are just kind of unhelpful. It's the old just Google it answer that you get when you ask on a forum after 3 hours of Googling and not getting an answer. So try and use COC. If you can't, just work your way up. You'll be fine. But that should help us out. Anyhow, does anybody have any questions about that? Was there anything that you guys see on that you didn't feel it covered, or I guess didn't see on it, or feel like maybe could be tweaked? How do we feel about that COC chart? Does anybody have any feedback on it, or is it just sort of a thing at the back of your brain that maybe shows up as a sort of a sleep paralysis demon? Or whatever. I don't know. I'm being oddly specific. So let's see here. What was some other stuff? I want to ask you guys something. This is fair enough. Yeah, thanks for popping in, Recall. Have a good night. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. Yeah. So, oh gosh, what was I going to say? Oh, right. So, organization stuff in terms of going forward. Now, I'm about ready to make kind of a pronouncement on this. And first off, doing World War II stuff again is a long fucking way off. We are going to finish Blood Upon the Risers before we do anything else out of order. But World War II, we had a different squad layout. If we do an op in a different setting like World War II again, do we want to just keep the squad setup that we have right now, despite historical fuckery? Or would we want to?
So.
Okay. Because it just works better.
Yeah, makes life easier.
The modern stuff is the way it is for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And, we adapted to that and we're learning that and we're trying to get better at that. Yeah. And I feel like if we just throw it out the window at some point, we have to then do that whole adapting process.
Yeah.
So I think we just keep it as is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The difficulty comes with like the weapon squad, for example, where there's not really a difference between heavy and light AT and things like that, right?
Well, at that point, you pretty much have you just have AT. Your heavy AT team at that point could actually be like a 3-inch, right? Or a 6-pounder in a truck. if that's plausible. But that's that. We're getting into theorycraft,
like,
and we don't need to be worrying with at that point.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it could just be like squads don't have a bazooka, and they don't have, and they don't have a 30 cal. Like
maybe they have explosives.
The auto riflemen. Yeah, it's like the auto riflemen have a bar, and there's AT for in a squad could just be just at EOD.
Yeah. Like, and I'll get you here in a second. It could just be, either demolitions or like AT grenades, like, because I think the Allies had AT grenades as well. They're just not really represented in like Iron Front, but they're there. They are represented for the Germans though. Sam, I'm going to pull you up.
As the only representative currently here from Weapons Squad, we're kind of used to this point to just being tasked to random shit. So, like, if we do a weird op where we're in a weird period, just kind of make what billets you need for the op, and then just kind of put people there.
Yeah.
Like, not all ops fit the an exact platoon layout. Some ops you, like, say you're doing some weird shit where you're underground exploring a tunnel complex and you want a flamethrower team.
Yeah, but that's...
You can point and say, hey, 2 people want to be a flamethrower team?
Yeah, and that is kind of what, well, honestly, ops where we're not operating within that platoon format are going to be pretty rare. We have 1 or 2, I think, coming with Panama. And the rest of the time is going to be pretty close to that. We may have, we've talked a little bit about Stratus and Altus. Go ahead. Was that Halo?
One op where we wouldn't necessarily be within platoon.
Right.
It's only Acid Gambit. Like, even Glaring Panama, so we're staying in platoon.
Okay, so it's pretty rare. But yeah, and that is the thing, is like, especially, I would say, like, situations where we get into really non-standard stuff would be support ops, joint ops, or in a long time when we have extra manpower I don't really know what to do with. But most of the time,
platoon. Sorry.
most of the time, in my opinion, I think it's best to plan our ops around what we have, kind of biasing towards a more conservative interpretation of what we have. So, yeah.
If push comes to shove, and I think I speak for most people, I'd rather not be doing machine gunners if it means I get to do something else that more fits the mission.
Right, but that's kind of what I'm saying.
Like, I'm just saying, if you need to task us to do something fucking random, task us to do something fucking random. Variety is the spice of life.
Fair. Though that does kind of, that would open up another question, is like, okay, do you guys just get to do the random shit because your weapons? Does nobody else get to do that? That would have to be a consideration I'll make. Because like, when we've got flamethrowers this up. Fuck, I want to do flamethrowers. Oh well, I'm a rifleman, so fuck me, I guess. Like that would, I could see that causing that problem. I don't think it would be a huge problem. I think we could overcome it with some more inventive ways of getting people in billets for particular ops, but that is creating more work for myself and for other people.
Eventually, if that becomes a super problem because you have a bunch of random bullshit, at that point you just need to literally have people sign up for billets.
Yeah,
or just you post something before the op that says, here's the billets that are available, sign up for the one you want.
Right, and I can tell you from the transition, okay, there is a reason. Well, there are 2 reasons we don't do the billet sign up thing standard these days. One is what we've got works, and I'm not saying we'll never do it for anything. I'm just saying what we've got works right now. And 2, when we transition from World War II to Vietnam, I had to beg people to sign up. And typically I won't share my frustration too publicly, but I'm going to for this. I had to fucking plead for people to sign up for billets going from World War II to Vietnam. We had nearly 30 people in this unit at that time, and I think 12 people actually put their name on the roster thing that I put out. And I announced it every time I made any announcement in the like 2 week span we went. So we could, and basically what you got to do at that point is the ones who don't sign up don't have an opinion. This also happened with the armor thing. When we did an armor op, I every time I posted about the armor op, I said, here's a sign up sheet. Sign up for the armor op if you have an opinion. If you don't, I don't care what you think. And then we had people that day go, well, I actually do want to be an infantry guy. So from my perspective, as the person who is responsible for making sure the most people have the most fun, it can work. Other units do make it work. I, for the most part, don't want to fuck with it. Because it's either
just do the shadow.
The what?
You could do the shadow council approach, where it's just you get together with leadership and just decide who goes where, like you do now.
People are gonna bitch
just for specific
but
shit.
that's the thing. We don't arbitrarily put people in places. What we do is we get as close as we can to your guys' sign up sheet, and that's not always very close. Don't get me wrong, but I know Mike goes through these people's sign up sheets and makes sure that he at least gets them somewhere within the zip code of what they want to do. And yeah, it is kind of a shadow council, but it's not. And also I guarantee you, like right now, because we're smaller, and you guys like know us, it's not as big of a risk, but eventually there will come a day where it's going to be the squeaky wheel gets greased. It's going to be people are going to see us putting people in spots and think, oh, there's some favoritism, or there's this, that, the other. And there's no perfect solution. I'm not saying that any of these are going to stop me from doing these things, but I just feel like a lot of these things are creating work that doesn't need to be created. We're creating problems that didn't necessarily need to exist. And if you disagree, that's fine. Like I get it, and I'm not saying we won't do any of these things. I'm just saying these are things that we're gonna have to chew on for a while.
Again, with any of my suggestions, you guys, it's your unit. I'm a lowly specialist. I am not a sergeant. I am not the captain. Your guys' decision. I'm just giving suggestions of what I've seen other places that work,
right.
And you can mix and match those suggestions. You can do all of them. You can do none of them. You can do some of them some of the times, and some of them other of the times.
Yeah, and I respect your opinion. I respect all of you guys' opinion. Otherwise, we wouldn't have these meetings, would we? But yeah, it is one of those things. You just we are going to have to weigh our decisions on stuff. I would like to do some non-standard things, but again, I want to take this opportunity to reiterate. For another time in this meeting, that support ops are there for that specific purpose. Banania does a really good job of making sure that those are very non-standard, that they're different, they're random, they're fun opportunities for you guys to try different stuff. But that is
I have some stuff.
Yeah.
I have a few things that I would love to help Banana with on support ops, specifically for Granada.
You're always welcome.
Because there's some cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's some cool shit on Granada that would make great support ops, but would it be good for main ops?
Yeah.
But yeah. Can I take some time from people to talk about lore shit and see what people actually like? Because we're running pretty close to time, and I just wanted to get people's opinion on that.
Let me see if I need to wrap up on some stuff. Because let's see, we are pretty much close to time, aren't we? And Mike, yeah, I agree. Like, there is the time zone thing. Like, sometimes people are just gonna, like, if I post it during the UK time zone, then the UK people will always get it. But anyway, we can talk more about that another day.
I do have a suggestion for the billets, or an idea at least.
Okay.
I know a lot of people are doing things that were based on their original, signups.
Yeah.
And opinions change. It's been like a year since this started almost. And we could just post a poll to see if people want to change billets from where they are. Might give people the option to get into places they want to be.
Yeah.
Shuffle up squads a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah, and I agree. And there's something also I do want to reiterate. And I figure everybody in here knows by now, because I say this every couple of weeks anyway. If you want to do something else, and it's actually part of the reason I highlighted that as one of the situations in the contact situations thing. If you want to do something different, you can always reach out to somebody and say, hey man, do you want to swap? Little tradesies. And that's 100% cool. Typically, I, back in the day when I was more directly involved in that stuff, would sign off on stuff, and I know that nobody else in Platoon has a problem with that. As long as all the slots that we intend to fill are filled, we don't care. Obviously, if you're not a medic, you're not going to fill in as a medic without some hinky shit happening. But otherwise, anyhow, yeah, Sam, if you want to ask a couple of questions, we got about 5 more minutes before we're supposed to end, and we can call that a solve sort of 5 minutes.
Big Mike, did you get a chance to read my document?
I did. I've been working on editing it to make it fit the kind of what we're doing here.
What did you think of the organization of that and just like the format?
It works solid. The historical thing would probably only really work for the first, like the intro. Going forward from that is
because at that point you just do the historical thing for the first stop of basically like most campaigns, and then from there you just only explain something that's directly relevant if you didn't cover it in the intro.
Pretty much.
Like, if you want to do any other historical stuff, it'd be a sentence rather than a paragraph.
Yep.
Did you get a chance to read that, O'Connell?
I read through it pretty quickly. I have the memory of Goldfish, but I liked the way it was formatted. I liked that you made sure to point out like the primary reasons we were there. It was good to see that. In fact, the only note I had in my head was that we were doing Point Salines first, and then doing and then probably doing the hostage rescue part. But that isn't really a point. That's just a like, oh yeah, that's right. That makes sense, kind of thing. But I like it.
Must capture airport in order to evacuate hostages.
Right, and maybe my brain just saw the hostages before. I tend to read chunks of text in chunks, not in lines. It's weird.
It was highlighted in red. That's probably why you remember the hostages.
Okay, that would be why.
Jamie helped me edit it, and Jamie highlighted that in red because we weren't sure on the exact number.
Okay. Yeah.
Because the army wasn't sure on the exact number.
And we're going to have to sort of improv that anyway because of the way Malden is. My only note was what I sent to you, and that is, let's do things on Google Docs because it's easier to share around. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, I fucking hate Word. Really fucking hate Word. I just do. It's an irrational spite that I have towards it. Partially because it doesn't work on my PC. Oh, it does work on my PC. Like, I can read documents, but I have to click through the, hey, you should buy this thing every time. And that annoys me.
I get that. I only use it because it's what I use for college. So
right.
It's what I've now become accustomed to typing on.
It's why it's on
it
my
used
PC.
To be Google Docs.
Yeah.
But
yeah, but that's actually why I even have it on my PC. Is because of school. But my school account, for whatever reason, doesn't actually work, so I have to use it on the browser. It's weird. But if you can remember to do these things on Google Docs, it is very helpful. Also, that means I don't have to download anything.
I will do that. Also, Big Mike, in the future, could I directly coordinate with you just so I know what the missions are in advance? So I'm not presuming what the missions are and then discovering, oh shit, I wrote the wrong briefing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I've kind of been editing it.
And probably sometime in April-ish, if not a little bit before, we'll all be kind of getting together, S3 and myself, and sitting down and hammering out probably not the full story, but the full situation with a little bit more depth. I've kind of got most of it in my head for Tempest, but obviously you volunteered to help, and I'm all about doing not all of the work. So
I can absolutely do some. Is Tempest a real operation, or is it based on anything?
It is. It. It is based on a few things in that it takes inspiration from. It actually takes a little inspiration from Granada and some other upheavals, but it isn't a real operation. I mean, it's its own thing. But I am borrowing from some regional realities, and
it's located in Greece, right?
It's yes.
Around Greece.
Yes,
it's technically not a part of Greece as per the lore.
Right. It is so Stratus is Agios Petros or something like that. And then Altus is the island of Lemnos. You can actually look up Lemnos IRL. It's right there. It's in the strait. And yeah, so they're kind of in the middle. They've kind of been double like playing both sides for years, and that's gone sideways. There's like obviously there's a lot of people there. There's kind of an Orthodox population, obviously because they're Greek, and so you get a little bit of that. We'll definitely see some. We're gonna see some what's the word? Fifth column stuff. We're gonna see some of the not politicized military kind of being in the middle a little bit. So I heard somebody make a comment about how if we cheese off the civilians, that can go really bad for us. But also if we're doing really well and we're actually liberating the country the way we should, we're probably going to see local forces begin to defect and fight for us. You know,
I love doing this shit because it's what my degree is. It's what I'm literally like. I'm pretty much planning on this year switching my concentration officially to international relations.
Right.
So there's a decent chance I will literally go work for an intelligence agency doing shit like this. So it's what I like doing.
You could give us insider information.
Yeah,
and,
I absolutely fucking
to us.
You could commit high treason so we could have more realistic origins. Yeah, or operations.
I could leak all the classified maps of classified military bases. Not our military bases. That would be unpatriotic of me. Just the other guys.
It's like we're actually planning to resurrect Muammar Gaddafi just to install him in like Tajikistan or some shit. Yeah.
But I would like to get a comment from anybody in the like bottom part. Like, is anybody have anything specific they want to see in lore briefings and like intelligence briefings? Because that's essentially what I'm doing. I'm doing intelligence briefings for the troops.
Right. Yeah, I'd like to hear what you guys are looking for. I think it's so while people are writing things, it's easy for us up here, and you guys probably thinking, oh well, y'all can figure it out. Here's the thing. I can sit here and theorycraft all day long about what people want to see and be totally fucking wrong. That was definitely a problem earlier in the unit. Is like I'd write full briefing documents for our operations, and then I'd get in and people would be like, hey, what color smoke we using? You know, which is what it is. Not everybody has time to read everything I write, and I write a fucking lot. But it is very easy for us to sit here and just sort of guess what people want, but it's much easier for everyone if you just tell us what y'all want to see. Because then we can answer those questions that you have instead of just giving you a shit ton of info. Of course, if you want the fire hose, I think Sam is ready with it.
I can write a fucking 10-page document on the entire history of Granada. I don't think you want to. I don't think you want to know. What, you don't want to know that Columbus sailed past the island in 1492 and it was only later renamed to Granada? But that's just such interesting, fascinating fucking information.
Right. But like, you know, a general idea of like the political situation, like what we're doing there. ROEs are something HQ will have to handle. That is one thing. Grenada and Panama both are very different from Vietnam because we actually care about the civilians there to some extent.
You care about the civilians a lot in Grenada.
Well, you care about the American and British civilians.
Yeah.
No. The civilians there are also, well, everyone's a British civilian in Grenada. They're British subjects, every single one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the civilians were a very important part.
They were also very helpful. If you stopped a random Grenadian civilian on the street, they would point out where the gun positions were. They didn't quite like the military.
Yeah, because the
They'd
military
be like,
were
they're right over that hill. And most of the military is Cuban. A few of them are Grenadian.